Right, back.
With Dale and Tony breaking all the rules, talking tech biz and straight up chaos. Quick fire guests, oh yeah, we slay those.
Good afternoon. My name is Dale Rodriguez, and this is Flabonga Monumental of the Cube. Now, I'm going to do a slightly different intro today. I am going to do an appeal to the audience. Yes, you, people viewing and listening. Can FM, Flabonga Monumental of the Cube, ask you a favour? If you like our show, if you like the amazing questions that Ian's asked, if you like the awesome guests we have, if you like the stupid faces that I make, can you tag someone in this comment and post who you think would like the show, who doesn't watch the show? Or, if you don't want to be one of those taggy people, link the show in a message and say, hey, I think you'll think it's funny. I think you'll like it. Because, yeah, this is like a viewer-led show. We get people viewing and asking questions. We do want to build it. Until recently, Tony and I have just been like pissing around, enjoying ourselves and just talking to people. But it's getting some traction. So if you want to help us build it, please do so. And without further ado, I've got my co-host,
Tony Stevenson.
And our awesome guest,
Ian Phillips.
Ian, thank you for being here.
It's a joy. Do I have to be able to pronounce the name of your show, Dale?
I can't make you do anything you don't want to do, but I will respectfully ask you try. And I'll explain, right? If I had the power to make people do what I want, I wouldn't squander it on making you say a name of a show that I host. I'd do it for like world domination or some such evil.
Yeah, I mean, some guidance would be nice.
What, how to pronounce the show?
Yeah.
Well, Tony's all over it.
Flabonga Monumental Cube.
Nailed it. That's the 2 years it's been named this. I still mess it up sometimes. So, thank you for trying. I appreciate it.
I discovered not that long ago that it's actually spelt wrong, like in the logo.
The logo.
So it was like spelled differently originally, and then ended up spelt wrong in there. So like, I'm not sure how you would ever hope to get it right if it was spelled wrong in the logo. So
my good friend Sia made the logo, and she spelt it based phonetically and how she heard it, and she spelt it that way. And I was like, technically you spelt it wrong, but I'm not going to complain because free logo. So
I imagine it's polite to ask how to pronounce it to the two of you, isn't it? That's what I should have done.
I don't mind.
The next question is, what is a Flabonga Monumental of the Cube? So yeah,
do you want me to answer that, or
yeah, I mean, can
I whacked it into Google? Google was like, this doesn't really mean anything. The closest it came to is apparently in Australia there's some kind of drinking utensil called a flabonga, and you can drink out of it. That's the closest thing there is. But the name actually means absolutely nothing. Like it's completely made up.
No, it's our show. That's what it is.
Yeah, isn't it? Ian, enough about us, enough about the show, enough about the name of the show. We've heard your name. Where do you work?
I work for Xero. I'm UK head of partner sales.
Cool. And for the uninitiated, because we do get people in the art industry, but other people outside of it, the fudge is Xero. And why is it spelled with an X?
Do you know what? There's a whole really interesting story around the name Xero, and I think that Rod Drury, when he started it, my understanding is that he wanted it to start with an X so that it was kind of like isolated in an alphabetical list. But there's quite a cool article that is worth having a look at, because the band Linkin Park used to be called Xero with an X, and there was a fan site that owned the domain Xero.com, and there's this whole story about how Rod and a couple of other people managed to buy that domain name from a Linkin Park fan site. So yeah, like it doesn't necessarily mean anything either, but it is what the software's called, and it's what the company's called.
Oh, I never knew that.
There we go.
I knew the first bit, but I didn't know the Linkin Park bit.
I knew the Linkin Park, that's his name. I didn't know that Xero had to try and buy the name off some fans. That's hilarious.
Yeah, I think that in the end they were flown across to New Zealand and shown a very nice time, presumably some nice wine, and they eventually gave up the domain name because they wanted to keep hold of it.
Cool. And also, fun fact about Linkin Park, one of the names, the name of the first album was also another one of the names. So Hybrid Theory, they were going to be called Hybrid Theory, but someone else took that name, so they couldn't be called Hybrid Theory.
That's what I love about this show. We've ended up here inside 5 minutes.
Look, there's people who tuned in, like Kirsty St. John, friends of the show. Yippee! Live for a change. Hi, everyone. I think she's tagged some people. Oh, thanks,
has.
Kirsty. She's tagged Susanna Wellen. She thinks it's great for her. Penelope Allard. She tagged Amy Copeland, Elizabeth Carter, and of course, one of the OGs of the show, Marcus Batson. Afternoon, fellas.
Well, I was actually on a panel with Susanna and Kirsty earlier on. Hello.
Cool. What were you talking about?
MTD mostly. So yeah, it was. I think it was at Fab. So that seems like a long time ago now.
It was summertime. It was a long time ago. I mean, it's only like 4 months ago, but it feels like a long time ago.
But it's March, isn't it?
No, Fab was March.
Yeah, you're right. Wow. Yeah. Okay. Apart from Xero, which is your favourite accounting event?
Oh, that's a great question. Am I allowed to say the Xero Awards?
No, you can't say any Xero event. Obviously.
Actually, I will call out Fab because I think that Fab is trying to do some different things, which I think is really welcome. I do obviously like the digital accounting show as well. Like Accountex, I mean, they're all good for very different reasons. Accountex is like a crazy busy event. One thing I don't like about Accountex, which is not Accountex's fault, Tony, I'm sure you would have had this as well, is when you're like approached on a stand and someone comes up to you and says, "I've saved up these 11 support queries for you," rather than contact support. I've come onto the stand with them written on a piece of paper.
I'd be lying if I said it hadn't happened to me. That is a challenge.
The thing is, you know the answers though, Tony. Whereas,
all right,
but you just have to swerve, don't you? Be like, just grab someone and just yoink them in, and be like, "Look, here you go." This
So our marketing and events team rejected this year, but I suggested that we should all wear different coloured top hats. So that I could see when somebody came along and asked me a question that I didn't know the answer to, exactly who I should point them in the direction of. But apparently, no one wanted a stand full of people wearing different coloured top hats.
Maybe different types of T-shirt.
I thought lanyard was the one I went for.
Or lanyard, yeah. This is the techie person, they can answer your techie question. This is the geeky person, they can answer your geek question. I'm the salesperson, I can answer your sales/partnership question.
The challenge with lanyards is you can't always see people. You're sort of like, when you're on a crowded stand, you're sort of like looking about.
Yeah,
trying
I
to
see.
find.
My thing is that hats don't work for me. I have a full head of hair, which I want to show off. That's right, I was being passive aggressive, Ian.
It's fine. I'm over it by now, Dale.
I know.
I think we quite clearly established on your LinkedIn post that I don't have lots of attention to give to my personal appearance.
Mate, couldn't even iron his t-shirt. No. Who's ironing t-shirts? I'm not ironing t-shirts. Who's got time for that? All right, let's wind it back. This is a business platform with serious business things. You have worked at Xero for what, a decade, 10 years? Is that right?
Yeah.
So you're one of the OG guys. You've been there from, I say day one, but quite early in the game. What's the most interesting, or from your personal perspective, enjoyable change you've seen at Xero over those 10 years? I know there's been so many, but if you could, the first thing kind of pops into your head.
That's a great question. I think so. I say this to everyone, but the thing that I find really interesting is, in order to kind of work for 10 years at a business like Xero, I think you have to be able to constantly shift your mindset around the balance between speed and quality of execution. I guess with that in mind, like there was a really big moment that still sticks in my head, is which didn't necessarily impact my day-to-day work, but felt like a really big deal, which is when we got our first TV advert. They sort of gathered everyone into, I think it was the MK Dons Stadium for our company kickoff, and they sort of hadn't told anyone, and then they played out this TV advert, and it was a bit of a kind of wow moment, given that when I joined, I think Xero had less than 100 employees in the UK. My final interview was with Gary Turner, so the MD was still doing a load of the final interviews.
I think I was employee number 94 when I joined, so it would have been about, because you were not long after me, where you would have been around about there. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it was. I feel like we had 96 was the number I had in my head, Tony. So yeah, it would have been something like that. But yeah, that felt really pivotal, even though it wasn't necessarily impactful on what I was doing on a day-to-day basis. It felt like quite a big, bold move, and like certainly like pushing much more towards quality over speed of execution when it came to like how we were taking our message to market.
Okay, and your title is Head of Partnerships. Can you dumb it down on the day-to-day? What does that entail? I assume it's managing people to an extent, but also maintaining relationships. What does that look like?
So I'm actually a head of partner sales, and it's important I make that. I distinguish because I do get lots of people thinking that I'm sort of working in our ecosystem and working with app partners. Actually, I work in our partner channel. So I have, I guess, to dial it back, we've got two routes to market at Xero. One is to go to small businesses directly. The other is our partner channel, and we partner pretty much exclusively with accountants and bookkeepers. I think we do that for three reasons. One is scale. So you know, I've got underneath me 7 sales teams, and like we just couldn't afford to have all of those people phoning up small businesses, one business at a time. That wouldn't be economic. But we can work with accountants who've got, you know, 75 clients, 250 clients, whatever that looks like. Yep. The second reason is that accountants and bookkeepers are so trusted, and you know that makes it like a really neat channel for us. But the most important reason is that, and the reason that I'm head of partner sales is because I think that we operate a true partnership. It's not a reseller model. I'm sure Tony will resonate with this from Xero, but also free agent as well. Like the whole idea of the software and the relationship with an accountant or bookkeeper is that you create this like tripartite relationship where the software is providing value to both the client and the accountant or bookkeeper, not just in terms of the software itself and the efficiency that it delivers, but the fact that it means that accountants and bookkeepers can deliver an enhanced level of service as a result of them using that. I'm not really answering your question. The answer to your question is that my teams are account managers for accountants and bookkeepers who are on the Xero partner program. So they are hopefully working with them to understand what they're trying to achieve, where Xero fits into that, and then supporting them in hopefully accelerating their plans to move clients onto the Xero platform.
Cool. I've got one more serious question. I'm going to hand over to Tony because I know he's got a ton, and then we'll do some silly questions. Okay. So my next serious question is like, what has been the key to Xero's partnership success? And I'll put some context around that. I, as a systems advisor manager in a top 30 firm, am inundated, and I mean inundated, with app providers saying, hey, use my stuff, and they talk about partnership, and it doesn't work. Xero, one of the few, Xero, Free Agent, and a few others are one of the few that have managed to create meaningful relationships where I don't feel like you're trying to sell through to me to get to my clients. So how have they done that? And again, you as someone who's done it for a number of years, looking directly at the camera, what advice would you give to these new apps that are trying to do it? Bearing in mind, I've just expressed my frustrations about it.
I mean,
I loaded that very heavily, didn't I?
I suspect this is a topic that Tony and I could end up
wax lyrical about. I know.
But I guess the first thing to understand about Xero and Free Agent and Sage and QuickBooks is that the products that we offer are core and fundamental to accountants and bookkeepers' own workflows and those of their clients, right? So actually, if I'm an accountant or a bookkeeper, I am probably more likely to answer the phone to someone that has a message that resonates to me, and actually like my lived experience and the pain that I'm feeling and the desires that I have are going to be related to the workflow that I'm plugged into on a day-to-day basis. If you are an app that is not directly part of that workflow, it is always going to be more challenging. And I think my 2 bits of advice would be make sure that your expectations are at the right level, but also think about other channels, because like accountants and bookkeepers, they're not always the right sales channel for every single app. And I know that there are other apps that will have multiple sales channels. I think like the other things that I'd say are culture and purpose. Like I know that there's probably people listening to this now that would be like deeply cynical about anything that I would ever say about anything, because I'm working.
So I'm distracting you by putting things up on. Like,
no, it's all good. Because I'm working for the Evil Empire, a software company. But genuinely, I think, and Tony, I'm sure you will have experienced this. I'm sure you experience it now. Like there are a bunch of people trying to do the right thing for accountants, bookkeepers, and their clients within this business, and I think that helps us. And then secondly, like just to give a shout out to Glenn Foster in case he happens to be listening. I think that he created like an amazing culture of within the sales team here at Xero. The way that I articulate it is that, like, when I'm hiring people, I want people that want to be first to the top of the mountain, but not at the expense of their colleagues. And when they get there, I want them to reach a hand out and to help the person behind them get to the top of the mountain as well. And I think like Glenn took that. I think I've, along with my colleagues like Kat Bond, Tom Strange, Louise Kirk, have scaled that culture, and I think it helps because like we just don't have too many dickheads. Or in fact, I can't think of any dickheads. So.
Well played. Tony, I've monopolised most of the questions for the first 20 minutes of the show. Over to you, good sir.
This is just how we roll, right? You kick off, and I sit here thoughtfully working out which of my stupid questions to ask or things to say. Right. Yeah, man, I think you're right. Like, I think that what you've said about like partnering with accountants and bookkeepers is totally true. My segues nicely into something that I think is a useful thing to help with this, is that like, in order to partner with the accounting and bookkeeping profession well and partner with them genuinely, you need to understand them and you need to empathize with them, and you need to be able to get yourself into a position where you can credibly like empathize with how their day-to-day takes place. And you and Dave Norwell are the 2 people that I use as shining examples of folk not from a practice background that managed to acquire that empathy and knowledge. Because I think that it is not the easiest thing to do, right? And I'm sure Richard's listening. Richard will, I'm sure, be delighted to shout out his Accounting 101 course right now as a way for vendors to shortcut some of this stuff. Hey, Richard. Didn't pay me to say that. But if you can't get to that point, you will always struggle, I think, and you will always be the rep on the end of the phone, not the guy that I ring up when I've got a decision to make, or the girl that I ring up when I've got a decision to make about something within our world that, what we need input on. And that partnership stems from that understanding and that empathy. And if you can't foster that, that's difficult. I also very much agree with you saying about like the ledger tool has a unique place in the workflow that is a requirement, and it is a day-to-day activity that is undertaken. And if you are an app that is not part of that workflow, you are always going to find it a little bit more difficult. I think that if you find yourself in that situation, you really need to do your deep dive into who really are the customers that you're trying to sell to, who are the people that you need to get to. I do more in the partnerships world, in the ecosystem world than Ian does on a day-to-day basis, and lots of conversations that I have with those early stage founders in that space is just like, we want to sell through accountants. And it was like, there's 2,000 apps on the Xero App Store that are already trying to do this. They are, as Dale said, kind of overwhelmed with people who've worked this out but haven't worked out that actually that doesn't really work. That's the short-term view of it. You need to find out who you really are trying to work with and get to understand their profile as an ICP, and be able to put yourself in their world and into their workflow. And if you can't do that, you'll struggle, because you like Dale's role at a top 30 firm is not the same as Kirsty's role in a bookkeeping practice, right? They're badged loosely under the same umbrella, but their day-to-days would probably look quite different. So strong advice, I think, mate.
Did you ask a question in that?
No, I just talked.
Just as monologue.
I just no, I quite often do that. Just talk about. Well, my question actually was, this is the one I want to ask Ian, and it might be that we pause this question, come back to it, so that we can do some silliness, and then we can come back to this question as a slightly more serious question. So let's do some nonsense questions.
Well, there's a question from the audience. So first of all, shout out to Catherine Freeman, Sam Green, regular viewers of the show. Thank you guys for being here. If you didn't hear earlier, by the way, I did a call to action for friends of the show. Please tag someone who you think isn't watching this show, who you think might like the show, or send it to them in a DM in LinkedIn and say, look, you might like the show. Just would appreciate it. Thank you. Right, Debbie Hales. She's a long-time viewer of the show. She's been on, I think, twice now, actually, as a guest. Ian, I think it might be one of those trade show stand type questions, so let's do it anyway. Debbie Hales, love Xero, but why can't you choose default contacts? I.e., all purchase orders go to the sales department email, all invoices go to account email, for example.
Oh, I mean, that is definitely one that I'd need to take away. If we were on the accounting stand, I'd be like looking for a top hat somewhere. But I think it's probably worth mentioning a broader point here. Sometimes there are good reasons that functionality doesn't exist in software. Sometimes I think, I find myself doing this all of the time, where I'm using a piece of software and I go, why can't they just make that tiny small change? And then actually, like, you spend any time with an engineer and they're like, yeah, that tiny change is like 6 months worth of work or whatever. So there may be a good reason, but I can definitely take it away, Debbie, and take a look at it.
Love that answer.
Sometimes we haven't got to it yet. Sometimes it's a strategic decision not to do that thing because it breaks something else, or it works much better for a larger group of our users or whatever. So,
Ian, do you drink coffee? Because Xero is quite famous for having events with tasty, good coffee. Do you drink coffee yourself?
Yeah, I think we're a Kiwi company, and Kiwis love their coffee. I think that I've always drunk coffee, but it is kind of obligatory to become more and more of a coffee snob.
Okay.
The more you work for Xero.
Let's switch to boy band view for this next bit then. Look at us. Show me the reason of being alone. I was hoping you guys would harmonise, but never mind. Sorry, boy band view. It didn't.
It was the same.
Boys, Dale.
Actually, boys. Sorry, you were saying, Ian, you're talking about Xero and having to like coffee.
Yeah, I think there is a line with coffee snobbery, though. So
where is that line?
Well, it's in Bath. So
well, I mean, Richard Sargent lives over that way, so sure, yeah, why not?
Well, I went to a coffee shop there. I don't know if it's still there, and they refused to serve me milk with my coffee.
Was it? My rebuttal. You are the customer. The customer is always right in matters of taste. But I do know that certain restaurants, like you go to Italy and you order a well-done steak, the chef will come out and berate you for ordering a well-done steak. That's part of their culture.
Is there a bit more context to this? Why they wouldn't give you the milk? Or was it just...
I think they wanted me to experience the taste of the beans in their purest form.
Wow.
Yeah.
Richard Sargent, not Bath, Georgian Theme Park. Is that the actual name of the coffee shop or something? Does he know it?
No, I think he's saying
I think
it's a Georgian theme park and it's not a real place.
I think Richard's saying that he is from Britain's coolest city, Bristol.
He is from Bristol, but it's close enough.
You did say near Bath, I think.
I did.
You did say out that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay, so you do drink coffee. You were told off for ordering coffee with milk. Tony, over to you.
Yeah. Well, the feeder question is coffee or tea, but we'll assume that it's coffee. Well, I'll assume that it's coffee, and we can kill the tea question later. So if you are in a world of where suddenly all the little coffee shops that refuse to serve you milk have been removed, and you're just left with the big chains, which is your chain of choice, and which is the one that you would jog on by?
Oh, that's a great question. I mean, I'll immediately give you bottom of the list. This will please Rishi Ruparelia if he's listening. Starbucks is bottom of the list.
Yes.
For me,
it pleases me as well. Because Tony and I completely disagree on this one.
Yeah.
I think I'd probably go Cafe Nero top.
Okay.
What's the consensus? What do you think? You clearly
for me, it's Costa, because I drink black coffee. I don't need milk in my coffee, and I think their coffee is pretty decent for what it is. Tony loves a Starbucks because he prefers a latte, and they have the right
the
right measurements.
Flat white. I do not drink a latte.
They're both milky drinks. Calm yourself. Yeah. And you apparently the ratio to bean, water, milk is correct in Starbucks, but Costa don't get the ratio correct. Is that right?
I kind of get Tony's rationale there, because like it's quite nice milk that they serve in Starbucks, and if you don't want your coffee to taste too coffee-y, then Starbucks is probably.
I can see why that cafe refuses to serve you now.
I don't want it to taste too milky, and a flat white is the right proportions for a milky coffee for me. I'm starting to drink more black coffee. But if you order a flat white is a standard size coffee. It comes in 8 ounces or 6 ounces or whatever it is. If you order it in Costa, it's much bigger. It's not a flat white.
Look, gentlemen, you have to join me on the dark side. Drink your coffee like me, black and bitter. Just do it. Just the way forward.
I'm really happy with an Americano with milk, obviously. But Costa, Dale, it doesn't do it for me. If I was in Costa, I'd have to have a latte or a flat white, I think, to kind of mask the.
Let's just agree that Tony's wrong and Starbucks is the worst.
Can we? I would really love to see you go back to Bath, Ian. Go back to that coffee shop, order your black coffee, and give it to them, and then just pull your little milk out of your pocket. And be like,
that would be amazing. That would be fantastic.
Like in Elf, where he pulls the syrup.
Yeah. The sugar and syrup.
And Ian, off the back of that, do you drink tea?
I do drink tea. I also think an interesting question is, if you drink both, what's your morning drink and what's your afternoon drink? And my answer is coffee in the morning, maybe a tea in the afternoon. But some people are completely opposite.
I don't drink tea at all.
The caffeine is a lot more in coffee, so you drink it earlier in the day because the half-life fades away by the time you go to bed, and then the tea is like 50 milligrams per tea, so you need a little top up, and it's not too aggressive, right? It's not like smashing a pre-workout at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and not sleep until Thursday.
It's like the opposite of my night out strategy, which is a couple of beers first, then on to the wine.
No, that makes sense.
Spirits.
Spirits. Yeah.
Tony. Yeah. Well, all that. Tony, do you have any tea snobbery within you?
So the tea question is less about the snobbery. It's more about the order of play. So it is.
This is Catherine's favourite question, by the way. Catherine Freeman. She loves this question. Her and Marcus. Great question.
Yeah. So I can't imagine you being that happy with a Tetley's tea bag.
So like. I'm much more bothered about the strength of the tea than I am the make. I prefer Yorkshire or like Assam as well. That's really nice. But it's more about. So I drink my tea black now because the milk situation just bothered me so much. So I was just like, well, actually, do you know what? I'm just going to remove that variable.
I don't think that milky and strong need to be mutually exclusive concepts. I mean, I'm not saying that I like my tea super milky, but I don't mind a bit of a glug of milk. But I do agree with you that it needs to have a strong taste.
Exactly.
Ian, would you like a serious question or a daft question next?
I'll have a daft question, please, Dale.
If you could punch one fictional character in the face and get away with it, no repercussions, no judgment, which fictional character would it be?
Real easy. Scrappy Doo.
You know what? I'll allow it. He's really annoying. Yeah. And what you effectively said is I would punch a puppy. That's what you've just said. But again, no judgment. No judgment.
It's undeniable though.
Because I've got two. One is Stewie Griffin, and eventually what I'm saying is I punch a baby, which obviously I wouldn't do in real life. And the other one is Neelix from Star Trek Voyager. This anyway. Let's not get started on that. But they're my Tony. You answered that. You must have answered that before, right?
Yeah.
You must have done.
The Hulk.
Yeah, and I remember laughing at you, thinking you could get away with punching the Hulk.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to see, whether he had the jaw you'd expect him to have or not.
Yes,
Yeah.
he would.
To test my fist as well, see whether it would stand up to punching the Hulk in the face.
You break your arm, bro.
Have you seen the film The Campaign?
No, I have not.
It's got a Will Ferrell film charting, I think, what was supposed to be based on, hypothetically, Donald Trump coming into power. It's a few years old. And there's a bit where he's out campaigning as a political, and he's doing the whole like kissing the baby thing, and there's some incident where he ends up punching a baby by accident, and then afterwards and he's like, nobody's checked in with me about that iron-jawed baby and whether my hands are right or not. So I just wanted to make sure you were theoretically all right, having theoretically punched Stewie Griffin.
All right, serious one now. What advice would you give to a younger person than yourself getting into the fintech industry? So it's a big industry. It's very broad. You've got SMEs, you've got medium, you've got large. But like, what advice would you give to them? Like, should they do certain training? Are there particular companies you should keep your eye on? Is AI just messing up the game? Again, I'm loading this a lot.
You've loaded that. I guess some of it depends on the kind of area of business that they want to get into. I mean, in my world, like sales, go to market, I think there are some pretty cool agencies out there now that will place you with fintech companies, but then continue to deliver some kind of generic sales training along the way. So I think that's worth having a look for. I think, from an engineering perspective, not really an expert, but I think placements always feel like a good option. Generally speaking, I think, when I look back at my career, there was probably a time where I chased logos on my CV a little bit. And okay. I think the challenge with doing that is that you probably end up working for companies that are reaching the peak of their growth, which just isn't as exciting as working for a business that has got a load of white space to aim at. I don't know how you would figure that out. Like, that's like, I think it's just talk to family and friends about opportunities, but I do think it's worth, if you are a young person, not necessarily focusing on logos and like the big names, because actually like some of the bigger opportunities, particularly from a career progression perspective, will occur in organizations that are going to be experiencing hyper growth, and you don't tend to get that in more mature businesses.
Okay.
Massive. Can I answer that question?
You can answer whatever you like, Tony.
Because I think that's a really interesting question. So, like, my advice to that hypothetical person would be, if you need to like pay some attention to the different like stages of those businesses and then where they're at in the life cycle. So, like, working for a fintech startup is quite different to working to a fintech corporate. Like, you're going to be doing fundamentally very different things. You're going to have very different like deliverables, expectations, and there's going to be, like Ian said, a lot less greenfield. And then in between those two, you've got going from startup to the corporate, which is the scale up phase, right? Which is where I tend to feel most at home. And to be honest, like, you may find that you don't really know where you fit into that until you've actually been and tried a couple. So perhaps going into it with the expectation that like I might do this for a couple of years, and actually that's quite a long time. Can be quite a long time in fintech. Like folks like me and Ian, who've been in roles like this I've been at free agent for nearly 8 years, and Ian 10. We're the exception. We're not the norm, right? Normally people move around a lot more.
Correct.
But
that's such a great point, Tony. Like, and I think
it's almost like you guys know each other.
I know. It's like,
Sorry, go on.
At times, I've heard people use this expression like, "Oh, that person outgrew the company or the company outgrew them. And I almost think that's like a bit too much of a pejorative way of looking at it. It's more like do you know what? Most people are not going to be like enjoying life across that whole life cycle of a business. Like most people will have a preference. I know, like in the early days of Xero, when you and I were working together, like we had no process, right? Like we
cowboys.
We were just making it up as yeah.
No, I know you guys weren't cowboys, and that's not how it went. But
well, I'd like to think we had
being cowboys,
a moral compass, but you know, there certainly wasn't much in the way of systems, processes, tools, that kind of thing.
Nope.
And some people love that, particularly in a sales role. Some people love being able to kind of like just go out there and act like it's their own business and crack on with it. Whereas other people need a load of structure in which they operate, and they'd be much better off in a corporate.
So this leads me to another question. This is a bit of okay. You talk about people moving on and them outgrowing the company outgrowing them, and right, I think that's a very what's the way? Like you say, did you say pejorative way? Is that the word you used? Yeah,
yes.
It's kind of a wishy-washy way of saying that. As I think you both got kids, right? You're both dads, and this goes for women as well. Do you think in sales roles, the nature of the role you want changes based on your age and your life outside of work? Because this is my observation. I used to work in sales, and when I was a young guy, I did not mind traveling to Manchester and back in a day to get the deal done. As an older guy, I want to pick up my kid from school occasionally, and you can't do that unless you're like a sales director, or unfortunately you're not working in a direct sales role. So do you think maybe the age of a person or their life cycle affects what kind of sales role they do?
Well, this feels like risky territory, Tony. I'll let you answer it first.
That wasn't me trying to load up too bad.
Yes, I think it can, but I think we do a lot more post-COVID. We do so much more virtually that it is very manageable to be a really good salesperson without being field-based or without having to compromise your day-to-day kind of life alongside being a salesperson. You know, ultimately, there are roles where that's not possible, and it might be that is the case. Yes, but I do think that it is. You shouldn't. I think like you can, especially if you're good, right? Over time, you will find your way to position yourself in a role that works for your lifestyle, and that might mean moves. It might mean, you know, working with the business to move you around into a different role within that business. But I wouldn't let it put you off. But yes, you need your needs and wants change as you get older, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think a load of it depends on the individual, the company, and that kind of thing. I like if I think back to when I was an account manager and me and Tony were traveling the West Country together. I had like quite a large geographical territory. It went from like Reading across to Pembrokeshire down to Cornwall. So like a lot of the time it was like quite long hours. I didn't necessarily move into management when my daughter was born, but I do think like I'm going to make it like a sweeping statement that is going to get me in a lot of trouble here. But I think men can be quite immature in their 20s, and it's only when like some kind of big life event happens that it kind of drives them to take their career more seriously. And I think that was probably true of me. And like I became a manager off of the back of taking my career more seriously rather than because of my daughter being born. And my daughter being born was the thing that made me take my career more seriously. But anyway,
I'm inclined to agree. By the way, I'll back you up on that. If you get in trouble for that, I'm with you. I think a lot of men, when they get older, they get a certain level of responsibility, whether it's a significant other, husband or wife or children, and they go, okay, I need to step up my game, and that's usually when they do it. I agree.
I also like nowadays, like so I've got 3 teams who are field based. Tony's right; they do some remote stuff, but actually, like we love doing face-to-face stuff because I think nothing beats it. But the territories are much smaller, and actually, like there's one argument to say if you have got kids, it's more flexible in a field-based role because whilst there might be some days that you're leaving at 6:30 in the morning to get to a meeting, there are other days that you can say, I'm just going to pop out and grab the kids because I happen to be working from home anyway. And guess what? I do need to buy dinner on the way home, so I'm going to do that as well. So yeah, I think it's probably horses for courses, Dale.
Remind me again, how many kids do you have?
I've got one.
You avoided that question. Good job.
Oh, is this which is your favourite kid?
Yeah, you've got just the one, so that one wins by default.
I've seen you ask this before, Dale.
I think it comes back to that point we were making about the different stages of the business, right? So if you're the first salesperson in a startup, you're probably going to cover some miles, or you're going to do stuff remotely. Like you're going to have more to cover. If you are at the other end of that spectrum and you're in an established business that's got ever smaller patches because we work with more population and we've got the ability to support more salespeople to work deeper with those people, then it's a completely different conversation, right? So again, it comes back to that, and also like what you start doing won't be where you end up, most likely.
Ian, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being completely literate and 10 being fluent, how good are you at the NATO phonetic alphabet?
I'm going to say 6.
Good. Alpha, Papa, India. What's that about?
I
told you I was going to ask it, but I didn't tell you how I was going to ask it.
I thought we were going to start talking Alan Partridge films then.
Nah, fam.
So what's that all about? I think it is a pretty sensible restructuring of the way that relationships are kind of charged for within our ecosystem. I have to say it is not my area of the business, so I'm probably not the right person to answer loads of questions on it, but it feels fairly standard for where the industry is going. It feels like there's still a fair value exchange there, and I'm sure our partnerships team, as a business partner team, are on hand to answer any questions that anyone's got on it.
Fair enough. And I don't want to get either of you in trouble, but like we do technically have a competitor on the panel. So Tony, like, what's your opinion on Xero, again, changing the pricing model for their APIs?
So my thoughts on it are that I can see both sides, right? So I can see why that there are some people that are slightly narked because there's a price that's come in that they didn't have to pay before, right? I get that. I can also see that there's maybe some folks within that group in a smaller subset that feel slightly disadvantaged by where some of the stuff comes in the pricing structure, right? And I can understand that as well. But what I will say is that the provision of that data, and I can also see why there's maybe an argument around the data being the business's rather than Xero's data, right? I can see that argument as well. But what I will say is that, to provide the access to that data through an API is not a cheap thing to do. That's not a zero cost exercise, right? There is a large team of people at Xero that support that from a sort of relationships perspective and from a developer perspective. There is costs to storing that data, there's cost to maintaining the API, and there's cost to allow that data to move between the two platforms. There are also businesses that will draw lots of data out but not push data back in to enhance the experience of the other platform, right? So my view on it is that I understand at the scale that Xero operate at why they would have taken that decision. I think possibly there might be a little bit of wriggle room around where some of the things fall on the scale that allows innovation at a smaller size. But fundamentally, there's a large cost there that Xero have been footing on behalf of the business, on behalf of those businesses up to now. So without wanting to be too Switzerland, I can see both sides.
No, that's a great answer. That's really good, and I appreciate it. I don't think I've got any more mean/loaded questions, Ian, so you can now relax. But I do have some questions that Tony is unaware of. For example, you guys work together. What is the funniest thing Tony's ever done at work that you can share that wouldn't get him cancelled or fired right now? Because I know he's a consummate professional, and I genuinely respect him as a friend and a colleague. But I know he's messed up at some point because we've all done it. What's the best one that comes to your mind?
I don't actually remember Tony messing up. I think that you were always very well prepped, or you certainly appeared to be, Tony.
I don't know where went along, just smooth, mate. That was all.
I don't know where, and you know, you presented on various stages, and we went to like probably I don't know how many meetings together.
Dozens, mate. Dozens, yeah.
So yeah, I'm sorry to disappoint you, Dale, but I've literally never seen Tony do anything embarrassing.
Well, now we've got the same questions, Tony, about Ian.
The only thing I'd say is that Tony did get quite bored of the England rugby captain stuff back then.
I was slightly slimmer and it looked a lot more like Chris Robshaw than I do these days. Yeah.
But also he was actually England rugby captain then, so
he was. Yeah, people knew who he was. Maybe in the small circles. I might answer that question on Ian's behalf about a funny story that happened in my Xero days, where so we were doing a migration, and I was working with this partner to do this migration, and we'd started off on an okay footing, but he didn't want to use the migration tool that we had available, and I strongly advised him that it was not a good plan to try and migrate his 4 biggest clients straight off the bat when he didn't use the platform, and if he did, he should definitely use the migration tool that we had available that was free. And he didn't want to go down that road, so I did my best to support him by kind of like stepping him through the migration process and even trying to sort of help with some of the actual kind of like spreadsheets and bits and pieces. And anyway, essentially what happened was, what I thought would happen was that he kind of messed it up, and he spent loads of time trying to migrate these 4 clients across. And obviously, Joe, being the consummate professional that I was back then and still am now, I didn't want to like hit him with the "I told you so's," because that would not have been, helpful to anyone. Anyway, so he decided that the best course of action was to try and invoice us as a business for the time that he'd spent, because he had to go and explain to his business partner why he'd spent £5,000 worth of whip on trying to migrate these 4 clients, where we had a free migration service that could have done it in an instant, and he would have had a bit of tidy up to do. And that wasn't a conversation that he particularly wanted to have. So he sent us a physical invoice for the time and sort of blamed me for the whole thing. And like, I will shout Glenn Foster out, because I remember sitting in a room with Glenn, and I was obviously quite upset and worried about this, and I thought, this just does not look good, even though like I'm pretty confident I haven't really done anything wrong. I did warn him at the beginning and repeatedly through the process, and tried to help him. And we sat in this meeting on a phone call, and Glenn just basically politely said to him, "We're not paying your invoice, mate." Like, sorry, but just no. Like, even if we wanted to, and even if we thought we were obliged to, there's no mechanism for us to do it. So I'm really sorry, but like, that we did tell you this was the thing. We're still on the free migrations that you can have. So yeah, that was.
It's a bit like, Tony, when someone cuts you up on a roundabout, and they're giving you the V's, and you're like, whoa. Yeah. And it's like I think people get angrier when it's actually their fault.
They do, because then it's like, I know it's my fault, so if I just kind of like attack is the best form of defense, and I'll try and sort of lash out.
They're embarrassed, usually embarrassed. Yeah. Tony, is it time for some quickfire?
Yeah, why not? Let's do some quickfire.
I'm going to mute myself as usual.
Right, we have 10 questions. This list ever grows, and I like to ask some old ones, some new ones. So we'll go. Dale has to mute himself because he can't not jump in. But first question: what is one skill you wish you had but you don't?
Oh, I think I wish I enjoyed exercise more than I do.
So we won't ask what's your favourite workout, question 5 then.
Well, I guess specifically, I wish I enjoyed running more than I do.
Oh yeah, same. Only when there's a ball involved. Favourite country you've ever visited?
I would have to say, this is so like recency bias, but I went to Prague recently, and it was unbelievable. Nice. That's not a country, the Czech Republic.
Okay. What is your favourite food?
favorite food, beef rendang.
Nice. I was hoping we'd get the same recency bias and you would say Star of Brahman, or some other nicer, more local beer. What is your spirit animal?
Polar bear.
Nice. The book you have recommended the most often?
Oh, recently it's probably like some Patrick Lencioni stuff, but over the course of my lifetime, probably Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Okay. Most hated grammatical error or mispronounced word?
Oh, this is a great question.
It's a great question. It's the one that brings everyone to life, and they're like, "Oh, I hate this."
I mean, there's your. That's pretty bad. What is it? The thing that our US friends say that is actually the opposite of what it is. I hate it when people say mute point as well, rather than moot point.
Oh, that's very good. That is right up there with my favourite answers to this question. On we go. Your unpopular opinion.
Oh, I was talking to Dale about this before, actually. Like, my unpopular opinion is that MTD for income tax is tame.
The T stands for tame.
No, it's tame, as in like it's not like that drastic move.
Dale's already cutting that up to share on social. So, wow, that is a big unpopular opinion. Favorite podcast?
Apart from this,
yeah, present company accepted.
I called out The Rest Is Money recently. I really like that. Like, they usually have economists on there, like, with varying opinions. That Sam Green, that is exactly what I was thinking of.
We'll read out for people listening. Sam Green, Americans say, "I could care less," which is dumb, because it should be, "I could not care less." You're right. They say it the wrong way around.
That is exactly the expression I was thinking of. It does my head.
But isn't that them saying...
No, "I could not care less" is the way you should say it.
Yeah, or is it they've tried to load it with sarcasm?
I think it's just them being stupid.
Wow. Okay. Your best ever one in a million trick shot. Think like hole in one, like that kind of thing.
Oh. Oh, that is a difficult question. Because I guess there needs to be a degree of luck in and amongst that, doesn't there? Or is it just pure skill?
Mine is I was at Twickenham and a guy sat right up in the gods, and a guy tried to climb over the top of me, hammered, and he tripped over, and I blindly threw my arm out to try and caught his belt and stopped him from going tumbling down the concrete stairs.
Yeah. Okay. So here's one that happened to me. So a couple of years ago, we arranged for our whole sales team to have a game of rounders in this park in Milton Keynes. It's really good fun. If anyone wants any team building ideas, I thoroughly recommend it. But what I don't recommend, he won't be listening to this, but there's an account exec in one of our Manchester teams called Declan Feely, and I was sort of stood fielding, and he was batting, and he let go of the bat, and I didn't really realise how close it was to me at the time, but somebody was filming it, and it was like that close to me. So that was a pretty good trick shot to miss that.
Side swipe out of the way. Very good. I like the fact you named him as well, and Dale did as well, because I could see him chuckling.
Well, yeah, because it just means like the internet's forever. I can clip it up and just send it to him. Like, he won't be watching it, but he's going to see the clip now. Like, just tag him in it.
Final two questions. Most used AI tool?
Gemini.
And who should we have on the show?
Oh,
who would you like to see us interview? Preferably people we haven't interviewed before.
Well, I'm going to name a Xero.
Okay.
if that's okay.
That's
So
fine.
my colleague Louise Kirk, she runs our kind of acquisition department, so bringing new partners in, is one of the funniest and most entertaining people in the world. So I recommend her.
We will reach out. Thank you.
She'll probably hate me for saying that.
Do you want one bonus question? Because I like this one. Who is your celebrity lookalike?
Tyson Fury.
You know, now that you say it.
Well, I was actually at a basketball match in San Francisco, and an American was asking me if I was Tyson Fury.
I have a litany of lookalikes, and we haven't got time to get into them all now. But one particular one, I was in my first job when I worked at Deloitte, and I was in the Reading office on a Tuesday night in Reflex, right? In Reflex on a Tuesday night. Stuff. Yeah, absolutely right. I had this guy, and he was convinced not that I looked like, but that I was John Terry. Absolutely convinced that I was John Terry and that I was lying to him about being John Terry. I was quite a lot thinner in the day, right? A lot of weight, a lot less than I do now. He was, I literally, in the end, I had to let him buy me a pint and tell him that I was John Terry, but don't tell anyone. He was convinced that I was John Terry. He went back over to his mates and was like, John Terry, I bought John Terry a pint.
I'm no expert, Tone, but I imagine that there's a point in Reflex on a Tuesday night where your eyesight might start to go a little bit.
I think so, yeah. I love the fact he couldn't zoom out and go, why would John Terry be in a Reading Reflex on a Tuesday night with a load of accountants wearing a Charles Tyrwhitt shirt? Like, just, no, he wouldn't have it. It absolutely wouldn't have it. To get him to leave me alone and had to let him buy me a pint and have a photo and tell him that he'd met John Terry. So
that is hilarious.
And that's one. We'll work through them over time because there's lots of.
I've had some ridiculous ones. Like I got told I look like Eddie Murphy once. I'm like, I definitely do not.
No, I'm not seeing that one.
And this is before I had like any facial hair as well, so there was no mistake in it. We're coming towards the end of the hour. Ian, we could talk to you for many more hours. I'm not gonna lie, we're enjoying your witty repartee. We're enjoying your insights, but we've all got work to do. Do you have any questions for myself or Tony? You have the floor to ask any question you want, serious or stupid, or a mixture of both.
How long is this podcast going to go on for, do you think?
Until one of us or both of us get bored.
I thought you were going to say something more serious then.
Forever.
Yeah.
Well, I think you should.
Oh, thank you.
We're 150. I mean, I'm not, but Dale's 150 episodes deep-ish, which is
thereabouts. Yeah.
Pod fade normally kicks in from 3 to 7 episodes, so that's pretty good.
How many episodes have both of you starred in together? I suppose you've
got to be at least 60 or 70 now, right?
No, because I joined in February, so working the maths, that would be 40 minus, I reckon 30, probably 30. Yeah.
Oh.
I like it. No, the fact that it feels like it was much longer, whether that's...
It feels like an eternity, Tony.
Yeah, sorry. Same boring quickfire questions every week.
No, you mix them up, and I know you take it now. You have now like a list of like 20, and you kind of mix them up. That's
I do, yeah.
And also, I've been asking the same questions for the last 3 years. Ian, if you were a biscuit, what kind of biscuit would you be that accurately portrays your personality and why? But don't just pick your favorite biscuit.
Oh, I was immediately going to go to my favorite biscuit.
You can, but you got to justify it. Your reason can't be because it's my favorite biscuit.
Well, my favorite biscuit is a dark chocolate digestive.
Nice.
By the way, Dale, when I think this still happens when you join Xero, they buy you a packet of your favorite biscuits. And I can't remember who it was, but someone chose Rich Teas, and I just like that's like.
It's probably Declan Peely, wasn't it? That's probably
what's your favourite drink? Water. Like, I'm supposed to be justifying. I'm struggling to justify. I think I'm
favourite day of the week, Tuesday. It's Tuesday.
Yeah. I think I'm quite robustly put together, with a bit of sweetness, but not too much. How's that?
It's good.